There have been no NBA playoff games the past 2 nights, and while the league left a window open for games to resume tonight, Adrian Wojnarowski is reporting that the expectation is that games resume Saturday. So Chris Broussard still with us. Which team, Chris, will be hurt the most by the postponement?
Well, you can obviously make a strong argument that any of really the top 5 teams, the Lakers, the Clippers, the Bucks, the Raptors, the Celtics, any of them could be negatively affected because all of them have at least talked about boycotting games. You know, Toronto and Boston were actually the first we heard. We know about the 2 LA teams, you know, reportedly walking out of the meeting and ready to give up the season, and then what Milwaukee did. But if you force me to pick one, then I will say Milwaukee. Obviously, George Hill is one of their leaders. He's not the best player, but he's certainly obviously one of their leaders, and I'm not sure he wants to be there. I know the Bucks as a whole voted to play, but he said, as we know a few days ago, we shouldn't have even come to this place. And so where is he at emotionally, and how is that affecting the rest of the team? And then you throw on top of that, do the Bucks feel some sort of way about a large portion of the other players calling them out and being upset with them for what they did? So how does that affect them? They don't have stars. They got star, Giannis. And how do these other guys feel about that pressure that, you know, is put on them? Now, I already think, you know, I didn't pick them to win the East. I picked Toronto to come out of the East. So I already thought their players would have trouble on the grand stage, the Chris Middletons, the Eric Bledsoes, the Brook Lopez's, guys like that. Now I think you kind of put this extra thing on their shoulders, and I think it could hold them back. I think as far as LeBron, look, we've seen him play angry occasionally during his career, and it's not a good sight for the opponent. So I think he's going to come out and be tremendous. The question, again, is Anthony Davis going to come along for the ride all of the time? And are the other players going to hit threes? But I think LeBron individually will actually take his game to a higher level.
Go ahead, Skip.
Yeah. So, Chris, I agree with everything you said about the Bucks and George Hill, but I think because we both picked the Clippers, I believe you and I are both getting more and more worried by the minute about the Clippers. Before this all started, I wasn't sure the Clippers as a whole wanted to be in the bubble. So many of them were out of the bubble early on. They're just now coming back together. They're coming off their best game that they've played in the bubble. But their coach, Doc Rivers, gave that powerfully eloquent speech expressing his agony over all that's going on out in the real world. And I'm sure that has trickled down and affected all the players. And I'm not sure if Lou Williams wants to be there. I'm not sure. I know Paul George doesn't want to be in the bubble. It's not for those reasons, but he's got his own anxiety issues that he's facing. And all of a sudden, I'm looking at this team, and they followed LeBron out of the meeting the other day because I'm not sure the Clippers have that one ultra leader, that uber leader like LeBron James is. And now they're probably at odds about should we or shouldn't we. And Doc said his whole team thought it was over a night ago.
Right.
And now they're ready to go, but I'm not sure they're really ready to go like they should be.
Yeah, I think that's certainly a question mark. And Paul George, and you alluded to it the other day, Skip, he talked, and I respect him. And I think on a human level, it was great what he said about the depression and the mental anxiety and all of that. But are we sure he's over that? He had one great game. And he said he had to put it in his mind that he's in the Staples Center and that 20,000 people were there cheering and all of that. Can he do that every single game? You know, so there's just no guarantee that like that he was able to get over it. I know he had the great conversation with Doc Rivers, and hopefully he got over it. And really none of these guys are negatively affected, and we see them all play their best ball. But I do have concerns about the Clippers I just can't afford to change my pick at this point.
I just think the thing is for me, Chris, is because everybody's been disrupted the same amount of time. And I think that was the thing they absolutely had to cancel Thursday's game because you'd had somebody playing on 1 day's rest while you'd had another team play, a couple of teams playing on 2 days rest. So I think now they're going to push it all the way back to Saturday and everybody will get the same amount of rest time. They'll end up getting 3 days and then they'll resume. So I don't think anybody, it might help the Dallas Mavericks because they might get an opportunity to get Porzingis back. It's being reported that Russ is going to play in Game 5. So it allowed him to get healthy. It might allow Patrick Beverley to get healthier and him to play. So I think it might have helped a couple of teams, but I don't think it negatively impacted any of the teams because they're going, all of them at one point in time, maybe not all the players, but maybe a few players on each team was willing to boycott. And so because they have the same amount of time off, I think it's going to impact everybody the exact same. Some teams, you know, have better players and going to be able to deal with it. But I like what Paul George had to say. Paul said, yeah, it was rough here. And I remember when the pandemic first hit and everybody's like, oh, cabin fever. And when they said they relaxed the guidelines, everybody went out and forgot like the pandemic didn't happen. But you remember, you could get in your car and leave. You might couldn't go anywhere, go in anywhere, but you can get in your car and go up to 405 and come back home. Well, just imagine them being there and they can't go anywhere. Nope.
It's a long time, too. It's adding up. All right, Chris Broussard, always a pleasure. Thank you for your time and no changing your pick. I heard you say that. Guys, next up, the players have decided to play, but will the season look differently? Next. NBA season was nearly lost to protest. Players agreed it was in their best interest to finish out the playoffs. The league released a statement saying, quote, "We are hopeful to resume games either Friday or Saturday." LeBron also changed his tune from pushing to cancel the season Wednesday night to yesterday siding with the majority of the players who wanted to play. Fox Sports NBA analyst Chris Broussard with us this morning. Chris, what do you make of LeBron's change of heart here?
Well, I was incredibly surprised a few nights ago when the reports came out that LeBron had decided they should boycott the rest of the season. I mean, I was shocked that he was on that side of things, knowing how much he wanted to win this championship and knowing that, you know, dating back months ago when talk of boycotting came up before they even went to the bubble, that he never even considered it, never even wanted to really discuss it. And so that surprised me. And I think the fact that he went there a couple nights ago and was ready to give it all up just speaks to his frustration with the way things were playing out. And while I certainly support and have no problem with what the Bucks did, LeBron was clearly frustrated by that. We know that everything he says and does is calculated and well thought out. And that's one of the reasons he's done so many great things that he has. And to see the Bucks do it without a well-thought-out long-term plan, I think that just rocked him. Like, it wasn't the way he rolls. It wasn't the way he does things. And I think he was ready to just say, all right, forget it. And remember, we've heard LeBron allude a few times to how challenging it's been to him in the bubble. He hasn't gotten specific and told us what he's really talking about, but he has said several times that he's not really enjoying the way things are going there in the bubble off the court, whatever that may be, missing his family, you know, not being with his mother, his children, his wife, all of that, and maybe other things. And so I think he was feeling like, I'm giving up all of this, and another player or team can just take away this, what I'm sacrificing all this for, without even consulting me. And so I think all of that in the heat of the moment just got to him. And, you know, he stormed out of the room and was ready to give it all up. And after talking with people, obviously relaxing, thinking about it again, I think he came back to the conclusion that led him to the bubble, which is I can do both. I can use my platform to draw attention to what's going on and make these strong statements. And I can win this championship for myself and for the Lakers. Remember, this is a big thing, too, in the year of the tragic death of Kobe Bryant. So I think that's how I view LeBron's kind of roller coaster ride these past few days.
Well, for me, I don't believe he ever really wanted to boycott. I just think the thing is that he's trying to leverage And he did a great job of leveraging it. And I do agree, Skip. It's been reported that he and Chris Paul and some others had come up with a plan of what was going to be their next course of action. And it seemed like the Bucks didn't have a well thought out plan. Well, maybe the Bucks says, guys, y'all need to get. If the Bucks had said, look, whatever the plan may be, can y'all get it to us? Because we're going to be up and at this thing early in the morning. And so we need to have an idea of kind of where you want to go with this. And because I guess Chris Paul and LeBron didn't get back to them, they were like, oh, okay, well, what we going to do? And it was like right up until the umpteenth minute, they weren't really sure what they wanted to do. And so when they did what they did, it caused a ripple effect. And so now it's like, hold on, wait a minute.